Knives Out is written and directed by Rian Johnson, and this movie follows the Thrombey family, and after Harlan, the head of the family, is found dead, a murder investigation led by the renowned detective Benoit Blanc begins. Rian Johnson is back after the rather tumultuous release of his 2017 film, Star Wars Episode 8: The Last Jedi, a film that, although was a critical hit, a financial hit, it actually divided a great deal of its audience. I, for one, really love that movie. If you don't, that's fine. Just be a good person about it, you know? And seeing how I am a really big fan of his work in that film, as well as his previous directorial efforts, I was highly anticipating whatever movie he set his sights on next. But you tell me that his next movie has this cast and it's a murder mystery? Yes, please. This movie's cast is absolutely stacked. You have Daniel Craig, Jamie Lee Curtis, Chris Evans, Toni Collette, Michael Shannon, Lakeith Stanfield, and a slew of other immensely talented people. I mean, how could you not be excited for this movie? And thankfully, this movie's cast, as well as its screenwriter and director, are not wasted, because Knives Out is an absolute blast from start to finish. This film approaches the whodunit narrative rather uniquely. When you watch a movie like this, most of them actually abide by or follow a certain set of rules. There's actually a scene in this movie where a character references some of the tropes that are found in this genre when he says that the house that this movie takes place in is very similar to a Clue board game. But instead of being just a pale imitation of that movie or others like it, Knives Out is a really unique and singular experience. Johnson elects to reveal certain information pretty early on, much earlier than I was expecting at least, because when you watch a film like this or read an Agatha Christie novel, most of the people who are fans of this genre kind of watch these movies the same way. We have our set of suspects, we keep track of motives, time of death, where were they when the person was murdered, all of that kind of good stuff. But Johnson seems to be aware that we would do this and actually uses that to his advantage. He really subverts the genre that he is clearly a fan of, which results in one of the most fun experiences that I've had in a movie theater this year. In addition to that, Johnson also elects to include some pretty topical themes and ideas that give this movie a pretty relevant and poignant edge to it. One of which being immigration and gatekeeping the types of people that we think are deserving of citizenship in our country, as well as the idea of successful entrepreneurs maybe not pulling themselves up from the bootstraps and maybe not being as independently funded as we may assume. It's an idea that I certainly wasn't expecting this film to examine going into this movie, but it's pretty insightful nonetheless. As I previously mentioned, this film has a terrific cast, and I really enjoyed a lot of the performances in this movie, mainly being from Ana de Armas, Chris Evans, as well as Daniel Craig, who easily gives one of the goofiest performances that I've seen from his career, and one of the most over-top performances that I've seen in a movie theater this year. Craig essentially plays the same character that Michael played in The Office in the episode where they were doing their murder mystery.
Oh, what's this strange Yankee accent coming out of your mouth, son? This here is Savannah.
I suspect foul play. I have eliminated no suspects.
I really see no difference. And Chris Evans is so good playing this sarcastic, arrogant, trust fund douchebag. I love every second of it. And I think it's because this movie is full of some really talented people and some really fun, colorful characters that there are some other characters that kind of just blend into the background because they aren't as eccentric as some of their peers. Because this movie does take place in a pretty confined space, there were some characters in this film that I felt to be pretty disposable. There weren't very many scenes in which their importance to the story really brought itself forward, and I kind of often found myself asking why they were there in the first place, or even who were they? One example of this would be this younger character who mostly is a kind of a stereotype and mostly is the butt end of a joke in a lot of these scenes. I just didn't really understand why he was in this movie other than to highlight some of the themes that this film plays with. But in terms of this movie's narrative, I thought he could have been kind of cut out of this film. However, I do think what makes Knives Out pop as much as it does is due largely in part to, one, how funny this film is, and two, the subversion that this film takes on the whodunit narrative. Knives Out is one of the most fun times that I've had in a movie theater this year. It's surprising, it's hilarious, and it's kind of weirdly insightful at times. I highly recommend seeing Knives Out as you can. It is such a great time at the theater. So did you guys see Knives Out? What did you think about it? Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you liked today's video. And if you did, you can click on the link down below and subscribe to my channel to see more movie reviews and movie related things. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.